What's going on, everybody? We are live. Thank you so much for stopping by for another video and another live stream. And today I am joined by my buddy Tajaya, who's going to be co-hosting with me as we are interviewing two of the creators behind the film The Killing of Kenneth Chamberlain, which I actually got to check out a couple weeks back and actually did a review for, and I loved it. It was one of my favorite films of the year. And I'm not just saying that because these fellas are here. Genuinely really enjoyed the film, and that's a huge reason why I reached out to them to have them here on the channel. So without further ado, let's welcome David Midell, the writer, director, and producer of The Killing of Kenneth Chamberlain, as well as Enrico Natale, who was an actor in the film, as well as the editor and a producer as well. And if there's any hats in there that I missed, feel free to correct me. But how's it going, guys? Thank you so much for stopping by.
Thanks for having us.
What was that you said? I'm sorry?
Thanks for having us.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Both spoke at the exact same time.
Yeah. That's the beautiful part about doing interviews in this format. You never know, the talking over one another. But genuinely loved your film, guys. Yeah, I saw it. Probably the worst decision I could have made. Watched it right before going to work. So I saw it, and then I reviewed it after I got home from work, and I was just sitting there just in complete and utter emptiness in a lot of ways. But man, I was just blown away and spent the whole day, over the course of the day, just doing a little bit of research on this story, because I got to be honest, this was a story, I'm going to assume you guys have heard this from a lot of people, that I had never heard about. I had never heard about Kenneth Chamberlain Sr., and this movie really touched me. And, in just complete honesty, I've seen a lot of really great movies this year, some big theatrical releases, and you guys contended with all of those for me. You guys are easily within my top 2, top 3, if I really had to decide, up there with films like In the Heights for me, which I felt was one of the better films of the year. But you guys genuinely had probably the most powerful film that I've seen this year that really made me feel uneasy and frustrated and excited, in the sense of the filmmaking portion of things. And I was just really blown away with their work. So I really want to commend it before we get into it. And Tajaya, is there anything you want to say to them in terms of your thoughts on the film before we get into asking them some questions?
Sure, absolutely. I seen the film. I chose to do my review of the film after this interview, so that way I can talk to the director, the actor, all in my review. But trust me, man, I'm born and raised from Compton. I've seen a lot, witnessed a lot, and I'm not too big on the superhero genre. I like real films about real people. I love documentaries. Again, I didn't know about this gentleman until this film came out. It was brought to my attention. I was blown away. Easily the most important movie I've seen probably since Detroit, and also probably Black Klansman. You guys are up there in the top tier with this film. It was incredible. It shook me up, which a good film should do. Makes you think, realize, and look at your neighbor different, hopefully for the better after a film like this. And you guys accomplished that.
Thank you so much. Very much. That really means a lot coming from both of you guys. We really, really appreciate it.
No, absolutely. And you guys absolutely deserve it. So I was telling David a little bit before we got started that I actually did see you guys get interviewed the other day by our buddies Rashad and Mike from Did You See That? We're all got this little YouTube community that we're all a bunch of friends in, and Tajaya and I are part of that community. So it was great to see you on a familiar channel and now have you here. So one of the things I learned in that interview, though, was that you guys have actually known each other since college, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah.
Cool. So what can you guys tell us about maybe that process? What was it like maybe getting to know each other? And then, maybe what did you guys take from previous things you guys worked on together to kind of bring into this to make it the kind of cohesive movie that it turned out to be?
Yeah, I think you want to go first, David? You want me
Go ahead.
It's funny because we've known each other since college, but I would say that this film has really brought David and I closer than we've ever been. I mean, we're creative partners now, and we don't really want to do anything without each other at this point. The synergy, the connection that we had was really truly wonderful, and it's what you would hope you would find in a creative partner. And so we connected, and even when we had disagreements, we talked about them civilly, and we respected each other's opinions. It was wonderful. But I think it was also because we've known each other for so long, so we knew that there was a natural connection with each other there. So I don't think outside of this, we may have done a couple shorts or something, not in this level though. we always were trying to find that project, because I've been a producer for a while and I've seen some of David's work as a director as well, and he's super talented. But when he sent me the script and I read it, I think I called him right away, and we met up the next day, and I was like, we have to make this. Like, this absolutely has to be a story that is told. And not too far after that, we were shooting. So it all happened pretty quickly. But I think our relationship has grown pretty tremendously over the last three and a half years of working on this.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I think that it we had worked on a couple scripts together. I had helped out on a short that Enrico was making, but this was really the first. We kind of dove into the deep end we didn't have a whole lot of experience working together at the time that we started working on this film, and it really we've kind of been the ones who have been for 4 years at this point, kind of moving the process forward, getting through production. And it is, I think we have similar personalities, so it makes it so that we kind of, even when there are disagreements, we understand where the other person's coming from, and we can kind of come out the other end with a better, with a solution that might be better than where each of us were individually.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha. Well, I think that's awesome. I think it's awesome that you guys have been able to build this this reputation together, especially now with such a big project, and to be able to to work so cohesively. I think is the coolest thing, to be able to partner up with somebody you've known for so long and create a film that is as powerful as this. Now, of course, the whole film is about this tragedy. So I'm curious, David, I know that you're the writer. When did you first hear about the story of Kenneth Chamberlain? When did it really hit you? When did you decide this is something I want to write about versus, sadly, a lot of the other tragedies that we see in the world?
Right. It's I first found Kenneth Chamberlain Sr.'s story in sometime in 2017. And the more I read about it, the more I found that it resonated personally with me for a couple of reasons. Obviously, I'm not a person of color, but the aspects of this story that resonated with me had to do with the fact that I'm actually on the autism spectrum. And being on the autism spectrum, as well as I worked as a special ed teacher for years. I worked with students with developmental disabilities and emotional and behavioral disorders. And one of the things that I needed to do working in that field, as well as being somebody on the autism spectrum, was go through very extensive crisis management training. We needed to learn how to approach somebody who is suffering from a mental health crisis in a way that kept them safe, kept us safe, and kept everyone else around the situation safe, and maintained, respect and dignity for all of the parties involved. So having that background, what really jumped out to me about this story was how tragically ill-prepared and misguided these police officers were in their interactions with somebody with some mental health challenges. Not only that, but obviously, race was a significant factor in the reasons that this incident ended the way it did. So, those were really the reasons that it resonated personally with me. And I decided to actually reach out to the Chamberlain family, Kenneth Chamberlain Jr. in particular, and just started a conversation with him. And as that conversation went on, we started to develop a relationship. And, to his credit, he and the whole Chamberlain family were very much supportive of the idea of, making a film about their father's story. I think because they sensed that we took it very seriously. We were not going to be cavalier about it. We were going to treat the subject matter with the respect that it deserved. So it just kind of snowballed from there after those initial conversations that I had with Kenneth. And that was around the time that Enrico and I started talking about the project as well. And it just developed from there.
Yeah, wow, that's awesome, man. To hear about that the history that you have and the fact that you wanted to approach this in a way that really told everybody's story in like from a fair perspective. I think that's really awesome. And I think that beyond just obviously Kenneth Chamberlain and the different, medical issues that he was facing, one thing I really enjoyed about how you balanced this film, and for anybody who's watching this, I guess I should have probably started this off by letting you guys know what this is all about. But it's obviously about the killing of Kenneth Chamberlain, the death of an innocent Black man in America due to a police brutality situation. But ultimately, what I enjoyed about the way that you depicted the story is, though the race element is there for sure, you didn't hone in on that being the sole purpose. And I feel what I really enjoyed about this film was that it very much leaned into, I think, what is also one of the other bigger issues when it comes to police brutality outside of race, which is obviously a huge part. And that is just, this entitlement that a lot of cops do have, just the overall need to take it to that next level. And I think that you came at it with a very fair vantage point where it's not honing in on just all the cops being racist. And I guess that leans into you, Enrico, where you are playing what technically, I guess you could say, is the good cop. But I feel that just kind of almost dumbs down your character as well, because what it really did a good job with your character is that you're conflicted. You want to be the good cop, but I think it also shows that there are probably plenty of good cops in the mix who maybe get told that they're wimps, told that they're lesser than, or kind of pushed down and scared in these situations. Even when they want to do the right thing, they may be surrounded by people who just don't really care, and it kind of leads to something like this that at the end of the day was just a mistake. It was just a misunderstanding that had mental health in the mix, and it just led to something really tragic. So yeah, I just got to say, I think you guys did a phenomenal job of really capturing that and not honing in on one issue solely, and really allowing the film to show that there's a lot of factors that can make a situation like this happen. And, obviously it's just as tragic, but it just shows that police need more training, that there needs to be that middle ground between taking it to that next level and, not doing anything at all, So I really got to commend you for that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. I was just saying.
Well, yeah, I was going to say that one of Kenneth Chamberlain's attorneys, one of Kenneth Chamberlain Jr.'s attorneys, phrased it in a way that was very, very powerful and concise. He said something like, when the police walked into that building and started communicating with him, he had 3 strikes. Kenneth Chamberlain Sr. had 3 strikes against him right off the bat. He was a person of color. He lived in a low-income community, and he had a mental health issue. And he had all 3 of those strikes against him, regardless of, before the first word was spoken, the officers may have already had, those preconceived notions about him, who he was, who else may have been in his apartment, whether he was telling the truth, all of those kinds of things, just because of the zip code that he lived in, the color of his skin, and his mental health status.
Yeah, no, it's insane. And that's the sad reality of the situation, right? It's like at the end of the day, the whole film takes place with all of our characters being, on opposite sides of doors, and they didn't really have an opportunity to assess the situation and really give, any sort of thought into who this person is on the other side and what they're going through. So yeah, I think that you did a really good job of showing the complexity of a situation like that, showing how there is a lot of layers to what could end up in a tragedy. Enrico, you took on the role of being an editor as well as an actor. Was wearing the multiple hats in this film a little bit daunting at times, or was there anything that maybe there was times where you thought to myself, well, maybe I just want to hone in on the acting and I kind of have to start thinking about how these scenes are going to edit and kind of be flowed together?
Yeah, I mean, I've been used to I think as independent filmmakers, you kind of have to know and wear a lot of hats always. So I mean, David and I don't as a writer, director, and producer, that hat is kind of similar. As an actor editor, it's a little different. There's not many actors who are editors, but producing is something I've done my entire life. I've been a line producer, then I was a producer. So producing is kind of second nature to me. I mean, that's very easy for me to do, and I've done that, and it's the thing I'm most comfortable with outside of acting. And luckily, editing is in post-production. So, as an actor, I can focus on being an actor, and then editing is in, after you're done shooting, you really look at it. The one thing that was, kept me there a little bit later is I would sit down with the assistant editor at the end of the day, And at the end of every day, and we would look through all the shots. David and I would talk about the consistency, making sure that the scenes were flowing the right way, because we had a pretty clear idea on how to shoot it so that it kind of picked up in energy and frequency as it went on, and just to make sure that was all being there. It just made it so that my days were a little bit longer, and David and I had to be pulling 15, 16-hour days for the entire duration of the shoot. But it's not anything that I'm quite frankly not used to doing anyway. So it was fine. I like it. I like having that level of creativity and control over projects. And then we had a great crew. We had a great amount of people that we can trust and do their job as well, and that really helped.
No, yeah, for sure. And like I was going to say, it paid off. My buddy Tajaya, I know you have some questions for these gentlemen. Go ahead and throw some questions I know you have for them.
Sure, sounds great. I'm a firm believer that things happen for a reason. And in order to get to know somebody, either you got to live with them or work with them. In your case, you guys were friends, but when you work with each other, you really gain an appreciation and a sound foundation about, yeah, we really know each other. Because when you work on a project like this, it tugs at the heart. It tugs at your emotions. And for you, David, for you to actually interview Junior and get the information and pursue the story is amazing. And for you as an actor, Enrico, some people are born to play a part. I believe after seeing this film, you was born to play this part. This is not by accident. You guys brought a story to America that people like me never heard of before. And it's right in my backyard. It happens, race, low income, mental illness. Unfortunately, it's a stigmatism, and it happens to people of color all the time. And it's great that somebody of non-color did this film from a different perspective. And so you took it with passion, and you took on this situation with great respect, because you had to honor the family.
Of course.
And that's the main thing. When you do a reenactment of a real story, you want to pay homage, and you want to make it not so Hollywood, but make it just right to please all people. Well, guys, you did it. The family's pleased. From a Hollywood perspective, and look at the film, it's great. And it's cool to be independent, man, because you can put your own spin on it. Because Hollywood, we know it's a little corrupt, and we all are looking for the Oscars and things of that nature. And I'm here to tell you, those awards don't mean anything. If you touch one person, man, with your talent, we made it. In your case, you touched thousands already with your talent. And that's, to me, is better than an Oscar, because this story will be enduring. It will grow doing interviews like this on YouTube. Now, my followers will see the film. Anthony Perez's followers will see this film. You're gaining an audience. Every time you lay down at night, you're going to wake up with new audience. And that's, to me, is the best reward, because as an actor, director, producer, editor, all you want is people to see your film. And in your case, have a conversation and discussion about this film. I'm from Compton. We grew up hating cops. And to see a film where the abuse is a MacGuffin, but seeing a cop who has compassion, did the right thing. It's hard to do the right thing when you're a man of blue, because your brother telling you we got to stick together.
Yeah.
And man, you caught all the emotions. It was by far easily my favorite film of the year. And I'm glad it wasn't a big Hollywood production. I can actually talk to you guys and have a conversation, and it really touches my heart, man. You guys did it. Amazing job.
Well, thank you.
We really, really appreciate that. It's yeah. And I mean, we made the decision kind of early on that the Chamberlain family would really be the most important voice behind the film. We really took our cues, particularly from Kenneth Chamberlain Jr. He has been, he's been kind of the primary public figure pursuing justice or accountability for what happened for the past 10 years. And his words are just so incredibly powerful. Hearing him speak, hearing the passion and the thoughtfulness behind all of his words is really kind of what inspired us to make the film that we ended up making. That was really, really important to us, because it's not, it's not about it's not about us. It's not even, yes, I mean, we get great performances, and Frankie Faison delivers, and I mean, he gave us an Academy Award quality performance that's just really, really incredible. But ultimately, it's not even about any of that. It's about, like you said, having a conversation after the film. And we've been lucky enough to have many of those conversations now, some of which have actually been with members of law enforcement, which has really been a huge part of it for me, I think, because I want people in those fields to see the film and for a substantive discussion to happen about what changes are needed to prevent things like this from happening in the future.
It's funny because I've produced a good amount of movies in my life, and this is so much. As filmmakers, as an actor, as creative people, you want those awards and accolades, but this film is just so much more than that. It's just so much more than that, and I think that's been such an eye-opening experience for me in this process, and I've kind of grown as a filmmaker and as a person entirely in this entire process, getting to know Kenneth Chamberlain Jr. and getting to know what the struggle that he's gone through, and caring for him, caring for his family, deeply what's happened here. I feel this tremendous, it's not a burden, it's a tremendous pressure to make sure that the Kenneth Chamberlain Sr. story is known and told. And like, it's just become so much more than a movie to us. And I think that it has to be, because this is something that shouldn't happen in this country and in this world. And someone shouldn't accidentally trigger their medical alert pendant and end up dead. No matter what way you spin it, no matter what way you look at it, no matter what, you should not accidentally trigger your medical alert pendant and end up dead. That's just not right. And so there's so many issues, and I think David and I tried to delicately look at this, not try to just like, that's why the character of Rossi is there. It's not to say everything is evil or all people are evil. There are serious problems in this. Thank you, Tazi. There are serious problems in this, and that I think need to be addressed. There needs to be serious reform on what happens here, and I think David hit it right on. Officers need to be trained in how to deal with de-escalation tactics. I mean, it was clear as day that they had no idea what they were doing. That they were just, it became a power, a position of power of like, you're not listening to me. Well, we're the cops. You better listen to us. Yeah. Rather than understanding, which they knew that this was a person who was struggling with mental health, and who they were there for a wellness check. They were not there for any criminal concern. And so, that's something that I really want the people to highlight when they think about this movie and they watch this film, is that, we want that movement. We want that people to talk about what this can be and how this can kind of change the landscape. And a lot of reviewers and a lot of people that have watched this have said, this should be a training video for police officers, because in a lot of ways it shows how things can just go completely wrong. And even the Parks, the sergeant that was there in the beginning, his character's old school, kind of conflicted, tries to do the right thing, but like it just like he's just caught up in the swell and doesn't understand that it's gotten completely out of control.
Right.
And I think that there's so much there, the pack mentality that police officers have, brothers in arms. You're there to you protect each other. And so when a character like Rossi comes out and says something like that, and says something different, I think that's hard to do. in reality, in real life, that is hard to do. And so how do you break that? How do you break that mold? How do you get that to be something that, and so there's a lot of things to talk about here, and there's a lot of, and that's the one major thing we want here is for people to have that conversation.
Definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it's a powerful movie. And, though, I think everybody who's seen the film can agree that Frankie gives an award-winning performance. And quite frankly, I think that this film is award-winning. Like you said, it's not about the accolades. This is a film that, anybody who reviews films specifically, but just, film fans in general, we watch a million movies, in a week, they come and they go, and sometimes they stick with you, sometimes they don't. And The Killing of Kenneth Chamberlain has really stuck with me. The opportunity to speak with you guys was exciting. I've turned down the chance to interview people on my channel that maybe it would have helped my channel, but maybe I wasn't crazy about their film. It didn't really touch me, and I didn't want to fake it,
Yeah.
So having you guys on genuinely for me is like an honor, because your guys' film really touched me. Like by the time your movie was over and we're going into the credits, and we're hearing the actual audio that's coming from his Life Aid device and all this stuff, it was I looked over at my fiance, the two of us are teary-eyed. Like your film is effective, it gets its purpose across. I don't feel like it's agenda heavy, which I'm sure you'll have some people criticize you that there's an agenda, but of course that's going to be the case. But genuinely, the film is so incredibly strong. And one thing I really wanted to touch on, because one of the elements I loved about this film, and I love when a film can do this well, is the score. The score and the music is consistent throughout, almost as soon as we get going. But what I loved about the use of the score is that it's never like you have these huge motifs that are like taking over the moment. It just really amplifies the tension. They're completely different kinds of films, but watching this, I felt kind of similar to the way I did with the horror film that came out a few years ago called Don't Breathe, where you're just on the edge of your seat the entire time. Don't know if you guys have seen that movie, but it had
it's a good one.
Similar energy to me, where I was just on the edge of my seat, and I really love that. And it had to do with the performances. So a question I actually want to ask you, Enrico, because I know that you were talking about this on Mike's live stream the other day. You mentioned how you didn't actually have a whole lot of downtime with Frankie Faison, because as soon as he got to set, he was in character as Kenneth Chamberlain, and that you mentioned a moment between the two of you guys when you're having the window scene where you actually do get to see one another. Because one thing I also want to touch on before I hear about that story is, for anybody who doesn't know, like I said, most of the actors are separated throughout the entirety of the film. Frankie Faison is in a room by himself, an apartment, and the cops are on the outside of that apartment. And I actually overheard you guys say that was actually filmed on two opposite sides of the building. Right. So you guys weren't even having to act off of one another, and that Frankie Faison, in most cases, was hearing a production assistant read these lines to him. So what can you tell us a little bit about all that? And, I would love to hear for my viewers here that story that you have of you kind of like looking deep into Frankie's eyes as deep in Kenneth Chamberlain.
Well, I mean, at first I just have to say, how many words can I describe Frankie's incredible performance? I mean, like, we're just the biggest fans of Frankie in this, and like, we believe that he deserves absolutely everything. And being producers on this and knowing the effort that he put into this, and for me as an actor, that scene in particular was transformative for me. I mean, like it really, I'm always very like critical of acting, and like I consider like I want myself to be at a very high tier as an actor, but that was the first scene I did in the film was the window scene, just because of scheduling, and like it was just easier as a producer and my producer hat to have that scene be shot first. Because we were shooting out all of Frankie's interior stuff before going out to the hall. So, that was the first thing I had to do, and it was my introduction to Kenneth Chamberlain Sr. and Frankie Faison. And it was just such an incredible moment. And, when David called action and both cameras were pointed at me for a close-up and a medium, we called action. I tapped on the window, and he turns around, holds the knife out at me, and almost immediately a train. We hear a train go, and then so we hear hold for sound, and so we're Frankie and I are just kind of caught there in that moment. I have my hands up and I'm staring at him. Now I know I've got two cameras on me. I've got I'm still like performing because I know that this is like great footage for me as an editor. I'm like, great, this is great for me to have. But Frankie's not even on camera. And we're just waiting. We're literally just waiting for this train to be done. And he is literally giving me the performance of a lifetime. He is just giving me everything. And it was just so, there was a certain point where I just stopped listening to everything else because my producer brain was kind of going at that point too. I just stopped and I just stared at Frankie, and we just locked eyes for like 3 minutes because it just went on absurdly long. It was a freight train. And so it ended up going on for really long, but it was just such a surreal moment for me because so many thoughts were going into my head of like, you know, I knew that I was on camera and I was in the moment, but like this man, he had no reason to have to continue at the place he was, and he did. And it was just such an incredible moment for me as an actor to look at Frankie in that character and know he was giving me absolutely everything without a single bit of it being filmed. And it was just such an incredible moment for me as an actor that I always remember in my career. Wherever I go in my career, that will be a lasting memory for me because you know, it was just so incredible to watch him commit to that level, which I now hope I will do for every actor that I am ever playing opposite, because it was just so tremendously powerful. And to the point where I literally pulled David aside afterwards and I said, we have to bring in all the other officers on their day off, and they're just going to sit there and watch Frankie. And we did. We brought them all in, and they literally just watched Frankie act and they were blown away. They were all just as blown away because he was just giving it his all and giving everything he had to it. And I think it really inspired the rest of the police officers to give everything they got because they saw how committed Frankie was to playing Kenneth Chamberlain Sr.
Yeah, he set the tone for everybody.
Yeah,
it was just incredible. And you know, both Frankie and the officers, you know, they had to, because these were on complete opposite sides of the building from one another, so much they had to use their imaginations for virtually everything. And, you know, reading off screen with a production assistant, and Matt, you know, it's just, I mean, both sides of the door, we just, you know, we got very, very lucky with our entire cast and the crew. I mean, the crew was really incredible too. But speaking specifically about the cast, they, you know, it would not have Frankie's performance wouldn't resonate as much if what was going on the other side of the door wasn't also very, very powerful and complex and nuanced and interesting.
No, yeah, it's crazy. The performances, as you mentioned, were stellar. Like that's what kept me in. And then when you have it's like you checked all the boxes, you know, because the camera work was great, the lighting was great, the cinematography all around, but just the lighting, the color palette you guys chose for even inside the apartment. There was just a really unsettling feel and vibe. The score, the way that it ramps up, maybe kind of settles down, ramps back up in little moments, the performances, the sound editing, the sound mix, and I was watching it on a pretty decent sound system, so everything was just impactful. The knocks, the yells, the screeching of his earpiece, everything just was crystal clear and great. Really quickly, before we continue on, we're at the 33-minute mark. I know that you guys are a little bit on a time constraint. Sorry. How much longer can I keep you guys, or you guys want to kind of keep going, or you guys want to wrap this up soon?
I'm okay for a couple more minutes.
Cool. Well, I'll go ahead and throw it to my buddy Tajai. I know he has some more to ask you guys about before we wrap it up, and then we'll talk about maybe where people can find this film and all that jazz. I also want to mention that all the links for all of everybody who's involved here is down below in the description box. You guys can find the social links for the Killing of Kenneth Chamberlain's social sites, as well as for David Midell and Enrico Natale. But Tajai, I'm going to throw it to you, man. You have any more questions you want to throw these guys?
Well, you guys are now considered a dynamic duo. So projects going forward, are you going to try to find some more original material, or do you have something on the back burner that you wrote yourself that you guys are going to do together next?
We've got a combination of a couple different things. We do have what was that?
I said we don't stop working.
No.
We had a quarantine situation, so we have a lot of stuff. Materials.
Yeah, we have a couple of true story kind of docudramas similar to the tone of The Killing of Kenneth Chamberlain. Not the same subject matter, but some true story docudrama films that we would like to make that deal with some historical issues, some current issues. But the goal for those films would really be very similar to to make a film and then have a discussion about the subject matter afterwards. So we've got a number of those. We've got a couple TV series that we're working on.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, we have too much, and then our company, Redbird Entertainment, also has another 7 or 8 projects that we're doing.
Wow, you guys are gonna be busy.
Yeah, we've got a couple documentaries. One of them is very much in this world. We've got we've even got our hands on a short. We've got a bunch of different things. We've got 2 other feature films that are coming out very shortly. We've got,
nice.
But David and I, in terms of our work, in terms of the things we've got 3 other finished screenplays that we are very much working on. And if someone wants to, they can. Redbird Entertainment is our company website. You can kind of see a lot of the stuff that we've got going on there. And yeah, we're just going to keep pumping it out and getting a lot of stuff. We almost made one of them the end of this year, and then we decided to wait because we're hopeful that The Killing of Kenneth Chamberlain will kind of open even more doors for us as filmmakers, and the opportunity for us to do things, because it's not easy to make a movie this impactful and powerful at smaller budgets. So hoping to get a little larger budgets for some of these other ones, because we're very confident in the scripts and what we have so far, and we're very excited to take the next step in that process.
Well, congratulations, guys. What you did was incredible. For you guys to do what you did, pulling an actor of that caliber, to have Morgan Freeman to come aboard and want to be a part of it. Now that you asked and begged him, he said, no, how can I be a part of this? Guys, hey, remarkable job. Nothing but good things are going to come. Keep it up, man. Proud of you guys.
We really appreciate that.
Yeah,
it's been incredible working with Morgan's team. They're incredibly passionate. Everyone on his team, his producing partners, Laurie McCreary and Gary Lucchese, are also executive producers on the film, and everyone on their team is just really passionate about the film and wants it to get out there on a really high level. And I just wanted to mention also, Anthony, I know you mentioned our composers, the score.
Yes.
We can't say enough amazing things about them and the score. This was their first musical score for a film. They had never done one before, and coming out the gate with a score like this is really, really incrable.
I told them, I was like, you better want to continue working for us later when you're sought after all these. They're so talented. They're so incredibly talented, and they really did a wonderful job. And I'm gonna compliment David here. David has a background in music, and his ability to speak the language is very, very important. Because I've worked as producer on films before, where if a director doesn't know how to talk to a composer, it's really hard to get something right. And David was able to literally, by the beat, tell them particular notes the same way you would talk to an editor, the same way you would talk to a designer. And I think that's absolutely crucial that David was able to do that, because they were able to really help in David's vision in putting this all together. And like you're talking about, the undertone of it being there, I think that was very much by design. But King and Garrett were incredible, and I'm very, very excited to continue working with them as well.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's amazing. And it just sounds like all around you guys had synchronicity across your entire cast and crew, the creative process after the fact. I don't want to hold you guys for too much longer, but David did just mention that that you guys are trying to get this movie out to a wider audience. I did hear, I know you guys can't share too much information on it just yet, but you guys mentioned that later in the year, possibly we can see this appearing on a very popular streaming site. Can you give us at least a little information on maybe what part of the year to really expect it for anybody who really wants to check it out, but maybe isn't willing to see it in theaters at the moment or in or on VOD at the moment?
Yeah, I mean, like what we can say is that next week will likely be the announcement. We'll likely announce it next week. So we're told that we can't really talk about it, but it is a popular streaming site and will be a lot more readily available for people to watch the film. And we're really excited about it. And in the meantime, if you can't wait, please support us by renting or buying on one of the platforms. To us, it's all about word of mouth. Someone was talking about the awards ceremonies and everything having to go into all that stuff. Most of the time, that just requires a ridiculous amount of money to get your movie out there, to be seen, to be considered. So we don't have that. So we're relying on word of mouth and people talking about this film to the point where they can't ignore it. Because we're a small movie and it's easy to get ignored in Hollywood. And so, we hope that people talk about this enough and bring this story up enough that they're forced to look at it. And I truly believe if you watch this movie, you will be moved. It's hard. I mean, editing the movie and being a part of it from the very beginning, I still tear up by the end of the film. And it's really hard not to. I have so many emotional attachments to it now, and it's really hard not to feel for the character and especially for Frankie's performance. So I really hope that people continue. But yes, we will have a good announcement next week, and that's really all I can say. I can't really tell anything, or else I'll get in trouble.
Yeah, of course. I wouldn't want to push you guys in that direction anyway. But I do want to ask you. This will be my last question, and then I'll let you guys go. Or unless Tajaya has one last question. But what I wanted to ask you guys is, you mentioned that this film still really is impactful for you when you watch it, even after all this time and all the work you put into it. Were there any maybe private moments that you guys had, maybe when you were editing the film, or when you were just kind of like maybe watching dailies, or maybe even a moment just behind the camera when it's happening right there in front of you, where you found yourself like maybe getting choked up or kind of getting lost in the moment?
Yeah. I think for me, it normally the sections of the film that really get me, even though I've seen it 1,000 times at this point.
Yeah.
The window scene, and then the scene following that, the conversation with his son, and then really the ending. I mean, the ending. I still find after that cut to black, even though I know exactly what's gonna. I still find that I have to sort of take a deep breath after that cut to black at the end and sort of normalize my breathing again. Because it's just, and that's not me complimenting myself. I mean, that's the actors, that's the incredible camera operators, and our cinematographer, our gaffer, the composers. Obviously, the score in that ending is just one of the most powerful pieces of music I've seen in a film.
Yeah.
So those are really the sections that still get to me.
Yeah, it's almost the exact same thing for me. I mean, like, it's the scene in the bathroom when he's talking to his son, and just knowing our relationship with Kenneth Chamberlain Jr. now, that gets me like every time, just because I can't even imagine, him hearing that, and it just breaks me. It just kills me, and like. That's really hard to hear without getting at least a little bit emotional for me. And then the ending, that it's hard, because when you're editing the movie and when you're deeply involved, as David and I were for the entire time, you kind of become numb to it. You don't really like, you're like, oh, is this shot good? Oh, we need a better reaction here, and like blah, blah, blah. And so it wasn't when it was edited, that whole final sequence was edited, we had some temp music that was pretty good. I mean, it was good. And then when we got our first actual piece of music for that end, and I remember listening to it on headphones, listening to his version that he laid over the video, and I just was streaming tears. in that moment, and I like immediately ran over to my wife and I was like, you need to listen to this. And then I put it in her ears, and then she was streaming tears. And just from that little moment, and that was just like how big of a difference music can make is just truly incredible. And then I think I would say for me, it wasn't until Austin Film Festival, the first time we screened this movie for an audience of about 180 people. We screened it for about 180 people. Did we actually understand, I think, and I would probably speak for David too, what we had? Because up until that point, it was like one person, you know, we would screen it. We wouldn't really, we would show it to different people. We would send them links to like trusted associates and stuff like that. But having 180 people watching in a theater setting, the reaction afterwards was unbelievable. It was just unbelievable. And that feeling I'll always have with me for the rest of my life as well. Knowing that the film elicits that type of a reaction, which in a different world, you know, we would have gotten in a COVID-less world, a bigger theatrical release. And because this film really does hit hard in a theater, when it adds to the claustrophobia. That's what we always say. We ask if someone can watch it at home, watch it in as a theater-like experience as you can, because it really does add the hits and the movement of the camera really does add to the claustrophobia that you feel when you watch this film. But yeah, I mean, the whole process has been incredible, but it's been, yeah, I guess those are my scenes.
Yeah, I mean, totally, that's crazy. And I mean, you guys nailed it. It was phenomenal. Tajaya, do you have any last words for these gentlemen before we send them on their way?
Hey guys, have a great weekend. I'm gonna tell all of my friends to watch this film.
Thank you.
Guys created a masterpiece, man. Take a bow, and I'm an advocate, man. I'm a fan for life. So keep up the great work.
Much. We really, really appreciate that. Both of you guys, we really appreciate it.
Oh yeah, you're absolutely welcome. Keep doing what you're doing. I will definitely be keeping an eye out for your guys' career. This was the first thing I'd ever seen that you guys were involved in. So you've just gained, at least in this stream, 2 more fans. And based on what I've been hearing from people who've seen the film, you're gaining a lot more fans as time goes on. And ultimately, you're getting the story out that you guys want to get out there. That is super, super powerful. So, hey, everybody, the links down below for Enrico, for David, please go give them some love. Follow their career. Please, most importantly, check out The Killing of Kenneth Chamberlain. And if you are waiting for streaming next week, just follow their social media, and you guys will be getting an announcement sometime. Let's say next week or 2 weeks in case there's a mistake or something. But either way, that'll be coming out very soon, the announcement for that. And a big thank you to Enrico and David for taking the time to talk about what Tajaya said is truly a masterpiece, one of the greatest films of the year. And sadly, because it didn't get that huge theatrical release that it definitely deserves, not everybody may hear about it. And so if you're watching this and you're hearing about it, this is your chance to go check it out because it's definitely worth it. So go ahead and wrap it up here. Any final words from Enrico or David?
I don't think so. Just thank you guys very much. Great conversation. We're always happy to talk about these issues in the film. So we appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah, we for sure. I mean, that's the big thing. Just thank you for shedding more light on this and making more people aware of this. We feel that it's very important, and that was the promise I gave Kenneth Chamberlain Jr. was that we would make his father's name a national name, and I hope we can continue to do that.
Yeah, well, absolutely. I believe it's all in due time. Genuinely, with how good this movie was, and how good this movie is, I truly believe that more people are going to know his name very, very soon. So a big thanks to you guys for watching. Please go give these guys some love and check out their film, and we'll see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.
Thanks. Bye-bye, everyone.